Good night. Welcome to Teleislas News, the most relevant and important information of the day. Outrage has resulted among the islanders for the despicable act in which a policeman is allegedly responsible for touching a minor in her private parts.
Images and videos circulating on social network were apparently recorded after the reprehensive act in which a police officer apparently touched the intimate parts of a minor. Teleislas News consulted with the parents of the minor about the fact, and this was what they said.
The girl, my girl, left for school at 5:30 in the morning when there were 3 police officers here at the store when one of them passed the girl picking up the bike to go to school. One of the policemen comes down and asks her in the place where she is picking up the motorcycle if her chain is gold. She answered him and said no, and the boy touches the chain and touches the girl's breast. Twice he did it.
According to the minor father, the community reacts immediately.
She went to wake me up right away. As soon as the events happened, she went to wake me up. The neighbors were already outside.
In images recorded by the residents of this place, there is evidence of a uniformed official at the scene of the events. With concern and indignation, the father of the minor spoke in this situation. He demanded that the law be enforced and pointed out that he will come to the last instance so that the full weight of the law falls on the member of the National Police.
We, as parents, everyone salt, a word, a blow, and so on. They are there to take care, not to abuse people, and instead of trusting them, they sow doubt in us.
The respective complaints are already being issued by the parents of the minor. For its part, the National Police has not made an official statement on the matter. However, Teleislas News will be aware of the statement made by the institution in this case.
Carolina temporarily closed the special solid waste deposit located in the Schooner Bight sector of the company of the National Police, some secretariats of the Departmental Administration, and the OCRE.
The Environmental Corporation Carolina proceeded to temporarily close a special open solid waste deposit in the Schooner Bight sector belonging to the Cleaning and Transformation Company, which was warned several times through processes exhausting all pertinent due process. The operation was conducted in an interinstitutional effort with the Environmental Police, the Departments of Planning, Health, Public Services and Environment, Government, Mobility and OCRE, allowing the process of sealing to open disposal point of special solid waste to be completed.
Based on an interinstitutional meeting and with recurrent preventive measures that with the corporation have been imposed on the offender, the decision was made to make a more drastic measure through the sealing of the site, and we will make the respective infringements that already started. In that area, according to the land use plan, such activities are not allowed and were already generating negative visual impacts at risk because there is a power plant and a power generator in front with high voltage wires in that area. And any situation that arises of fire or other that is not in accordance with good practice in the management of special waste can put the surrounding community at risk.
According to the director of Carolina, the requirement was made to the Cleaning and Transformation Company in September 2021. Also, they were given a deadline to adopt and properly dispose of special solid waste in the sites that have been designated for that purpose, which will be lifted when the causes that originated the sanctions cease. Carolina also invites the community to refrain from taking special solid waste to this sector, as the site is closed until further notice. On the other hand, Carolina issued a resolution against the company Provigas for improper disposal of gas cylinders in bad condition, also in Schooner Bight.
And this weekend, the departmental government, along with the military forces, conducted an operation on the use of public space in the pedestrian area of Sprat Bight.
The National Police, together with the Secretaries of Tourism, Social Development, Government, Mobility, and the Pathway Area Management, conducted a pedagogical operation of vigilance, control, and prevention in the Spratbite area on the use and management of public spaces.
Hemos hecho un recorrido por la peatonal.
We have made a visit to the Spratbite pedestrian pathway, where we have found misuse of public spaces, where there are street vendors who do not have a license. We have made them aware of the police regulations that restrict this activity without a permit. We also make noise control, taking into account Decree 171 of 2021, which prohibits the use of sound amplification equipment throughout the Spratbite pedestrian area.
The Secretary of the Tourism Office, Juan Archibald, pointed out that these educational activities are intended to have an impact on visitors so that they maintain good behavior during their stay.
De organizar un poco el sector turístico.
To organize the tourism sector a little, to ask tourists to behave themselves, to respect the island and our environment, and to prohibit certain activities that are being seen in the pedestrian area and that represent a danger to passerby.
The departmental government will continue to perform control operations on the touristic attractions in order to provide healthy leisure and recreational spaces for the entire community.
With the objective of listening to the problems of the Island Transportation Union, a meeting was held to agree on measures to solve the problems that have been occurring with the drivers. The Deputy Director of Traffic and Transportation of the Ministry of Transportation attended the meeting.
The House Representative Elizabeth J. Pan, accompanied by some deputies and the Secretary of Tourism, shared with the cab drivers union several inconveniences present on the island regarding mobility before the delegates sent by the Ministry of Transportation, among them inability of the CDI to carry out technical mechanical inspections on the island.
Hemos traído aquí a la Subdirectora Nacional de Movilidad precisa.
We have brought the Deputy Director of Traffic and Transportation of the Ministry of Transportation so that we can reach an agreement to solve the situation, because considering that the technical mechanics is important for the insurance of vehicles and the protection of the life of the driver and the pedestrian.
On the other hand, the president of the Cab Drivers Union, Alberto Gordon, indicated the agreement reached after the meeting.
The
ministry is going to put hands on the technical mechanical work to give more flexibility for San Andres, because the vehicles we buy are second-hand from the United States and they are not from the dealership directly. The Vice Minister announced that possibly starting this year, there will be a mobile brigade twice a year to issue driving passes in San Andres.
It is important to highlight that the Cab Drivers Union expressed their dissatisfaction with what they call persecution by the traffic authorities, pointing out that the trucks do not comply with the minimum requirements to pass a technical mechanical inspection. However, the vehicles are not confiscated. They also exposed the poor conditions of the Gustavo Rojas Pinilla Airport, to which the delegate of the Ministry of Transportation invited the entire transportation union of the island to participate in the work table to be held in November, framing the development plan of the Presidency of the Republic.
In other news, the Attorney General's office opened 3 investigations against the current secretary and 5 former secretaries of Public Services and Environment of the Archipelago Department. The control entity will verify whether there were budgetary inconsistencies in the contract for integral management of special waste on the island, possible breach of contractual obligations in the operation of the desalination plant, and finally, possible irregularities in contracting of resources transferred by SOPESA.
In different processes, the Attorney General's office opened 3 disciplinary investigations against the current Secretary Asbil Bryan and 5 former Secretaries of Public Services and Environment of the Department for alleged irregularities in the execution of 3 bilaterals. In the first case, the control entity is investigating Asbil Antonio Bryan Gomez for the period between 2021 to 2022 for alleged budgetary inconsistencies in the contract signed with Recuperaciones Naranjo Recycling SAS for the integral management of special waste on the island for an amount of 4,623 feet, 333,330 million pesos. In a second disciplinary process, the control entity opened an investigation against Maria Paola Vélez Sosa for the period 2018-2019 and Johan Andres Mancilla, same period, for the alleged breach of contractual obligations agreed upon the operation and maintenance for the department's desalination plant. The third investigation is against Jennifer Indira Villalba from the period 2018-2019, Maria Paola Vélez Sosa and Johan Andres Mancilla, same period, for alleged inconsistencies in the contracting of resources transferred over the last 4 years by Sociedad Productora de Energía de San Andrés y Providencia, S.A. SOPESA, which should have been used for basic sanitation and environmental improvement projects. Finally, the Public Prosecutor's Office will send a copy of the file to the competent Attorney General's Office regarding the alleged irregularities in which the Deputy Director of Environmental Quality and Management of the Corporation for the Sustainable Development of the Archipelago, Coralina, Roberto Hudson Reeves, may have been involved. The Regional Prosecutor's Office of the Department of the Archipelago is conducting the proceedings in order to establish the occurrence of alleged irregular conduct and the circumstances of time, manner, and place in which they were committed, to determine whether they constitute disciplinary offenses and the possible damage caused. Those involved may request to be heard in an open hearing.
This weekend was the creation of the CPRAT in the department. It is an entity responsible for the rapid reaction to activities of criminal organizations that jeopardize the rights of the population.
In response to the warning call made by the Ombudsman's Office on the strengthening of criminal gangs, illegal migration, and social problems in the archipelago, the Minister of the Interior, Alonso Prada Gil, and the Human Rights Delegate of the Ombudsman Office, Ricardo Arias Macias, met with the authorities and community of the islands for the creation of the Intersectoral Commission of Rapid Response to Early Warning, CPRAT.
Estuvimos atendiendo la alerta temprana.
We were attending to the early call that were made to the government to do a better work in the archipelago of San Andres, Providence, and Santa Catalina. We have a gigantic responsibilities in social material coverage, in education, infrastructure, in the matter of the ICBF, with the construction of the CDI, of the enormous and articulated work that we must do with the prosecution, police, and the armed forces of the persecution of the extension of drug trafficking that uses this passage as a transit of drug trafficking.
During the meeting, social leaders and members of community action boards requested urgent measures to address the increase in violence on the islands, strengthen population control, and preserve the rights of the racial ethnic community.
This weekend, the Director of Heritage and Memory of the Ministry of Culture visited Old Providence, where he dealt with several topics, amongst them the reconstruction of the Maria Inmaculada Educational Institution.
During the visit of the Director of Heritage and Memory, she met with parents, students, and teachers of the Maria Inmaculada School to listen and to inform them about the process for the reconstruction of the emblematic building. Although the resources for the work are not yet available, it will cost 30,000 million pesos.
The studies and designs are ready, the work budget is ready, and the project has already been approved by the Ministry of Culture. The estimated budget is 30,000 million pesos, more or less, and the idea is to leverage resources. We are looking at how we can bring together the institutions, the Ministry of Education, the Governor's Office, the Mayor's Office, and maybe the royalties money.
Furthermore, she met with artists, cultural managers, and leaders to discuss their needs and projects. The participants emphasized that the resources should be prioritized for the racial community.
We want to promote the creation of workshop schools for the islands. What the workshop schools seek is the development of the young people, women, and men around the recovery of their knowledge above all, plus the practice of their artistic manifestations.
Projects for the recovery of carpentry and naval architecture will be carried out in search of strengthening the fishing sector.
A study is being done to recognize the incredible values that the islands have from the natural perspective and the coordination and complement between the natural and the cultural to recognize this beautiful place full of cultural richness as a landscape for all Colombians.
para todos los colombianos.
The construction of the houses of cultural interest and the recognition of the artisanal fishing as intangible heritage were also discussed.
And as part of the agreement between Coralina and Mas Bosques, Islas Resilientes starting today, the delivery of fruit trees plants to the community for sustainable yard use.
This morning, the third phase of the Agreement 004, Resilient Islands between Mas Bosques and Coralina started. This agreement will deliver to the community fruit trees and timber seedlings until Friday. The agreement seeks the environmental restoration after the passage of Hurricane Iota.
So, the convenio got like different work where we do. So, you got pathways restoration forestal, you got pathways with the mangroves, you got pathways with the deer, and then you got pathways with patios de uso sostenible. So, the idea that is like give people them different tree and fruit tree and like tree will use for fence. For them can use it in a field land.
That restoration process has included several fronts: restoration of forests, coastal zones, and sustainable use yards.
So each person can carry any amount of package they want. Each package carry 5 plants. So if 5 plants include 3 fruit tree and 2 tree will use like for fence. Entonces the people can escoger any plant they want. They can take, I don't know, any amount of package they want. But they say you're la nueva big and you want 20 package, no problem. You can carry.
Tamarind, mango, plum, avocado, almond, and more. At this moment, you can find all kinds of seedlings available.
So we were here every day, from the week, from 8 o'clock till 10:30 in the morning, till the 14th of December.
Seedlings are being delivered from the nursery built in Mountain close to Coralina's former offices.